How not to take things personally. The need to be respected is a fundamental human desire. All things considered, humans are social animals, and we all have the desire to be respected by the other members of our tribe. Therefore, it is reasonable to expect that criticism can be painful and create emotional distress. Researchers conducted a study not too long ago that focused on the reactions of individuals to movies that involve social evaluation and that were either positive or negative. While the 37 participants viewed videos in which people voiced good, negative, and neutral comments that touched on fundamental emotions, the researchers evaluated the activity of the participants. A conclusion that was reached was that criticism hurt everybody. There are some words or behaviors that are hurtful. Nevertheless, if you find that your feelings are hurt frequently, or if you have a tendency to imagine that someone intended to cause you emotional pain, it is conceivable that you tend to take things too personally. Continue watching to find out why individuals take things personally, how to recognize when you are taking something too personally, and how to recognize the situations in which taking things personally can be beneficial to you. Additionally, you will acquire the ability to take things less personally. Why do people tend to take things that happen to them personally? It's natural to be concerned about what other people think about us, but we shouldn't let that concern get in the way of our progress. The reasons that we take things personally can be traced back to several different underlying causes. Negative self-talk. We could convince ourselves over and over again that we are not good enough or that everything is always our fault. When we are confronted with offensive remarks, we are more likely to believe the bad things that are expressed about us. Children who experience traumatic events. The lack of emotional support that we received as children and the fact that our parents blamed us when we were younger might both contribute to the idea that we are deserving of being ridiculed or humiliated. Negative feelings about oneself. Sometimes, people who have poor self-esteem worry an excessive amount about what other people think of them. There is a possibility that they will take things too emotionally. Disorders related to worrying. The fear of being judged and ashamed is a significant concern for many who suffer from social anxiety. The pursuit of perfection. The fact that perfectionists have high expectations of what they should be makes it difficult for them to deal with criticism from those who point out their shortcomings. Either stress or exhaustion. You may be more likely to misunderstand the statements made by another person when you are not in the best mood. A sensitivity to one's feelings. Highly sensitive individuals tend to take things more personally than others. Listed here are 8 different methods to stop grabbing things by the nose. Anything else that could it be? Instead of making hasty judgments on a perceived or actual slight, glance, or oversight, you should answer the question, what else could it be, before jumping to conclusions. Examine the evidence that indicates that this perception is correct. Is it possible that it is anything else? Learn to put yourself in their position. It is possible that they did not remember, did not see you, did not receive your message, or had a personal reason that prevented them from sharing it. Check your logic by asking yourself questions such as, what story am I telling myself? To ensure that you are not making any mistakes. Why is it that there is no evidence to suggest that this narrative is true? What else could it possibly be? Alter your internal monologue. Negative self-talk has the potential to inundate you, enclosing you in your prison, which is painful. The performance is negatively impacted and there is an increased likelihood of entering the fight, flight, or freeze state. Regardless of the underlying cause, you have the right to believe that there is a way to go forward. People who have attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, ADHD are frequently sensitive, sympathetic, and thoughtful. It is reasonable to anticipate the same behavior from other people. These characteristics may lead you to take on burdens that are not essential. When they let you down, you experience it on a personal level. Your negative discourse should be reframed, and you should exercise self-compassion. Is this terrible picture being created by your nasty self-talk against yourself? Telling yourself that it is not about you is a better strategy. You shouldn't assume responsibility for anything unless and until someone directly tells you that it is your fault. It is most probable that the other individual was preoccupied with their activities and did not even give any thought to the consequences of their actions. Could it be because of a previous hurt? Examine your state of being. Could a previous event be influencing the way you see things? Keep the truth and the fiction separate. Have you been experiencing difficulties as of late? When your thalamus is in a state of high alert, it can differentiate between items from the past and trigger an alarm in your brain. Your thalamus is trying to warn you about a circumstance from the past and protect you from it. The fact that anything elicits an emotional response does not show that truth exists. Is it possible that you are interpreting this circumstance based on your worry and making worst-case scenarios? Pay attention to the origin. Do you consider the viewpoint of this individual to be important? Is this a new or long-standing relationship? Valued and mutually beneficial? Are you irritated by the person's tendency to be critical, their habit of being late, their tendency to ignore texts, their tendency to make single comments, or any similar behavior? The question you should ask yourself is, does this person's judgment count or hold up? Put in place methods to put an end to ruminating. Recognize and speak out for your emotions. The wound that it has created in both your body and mind should be acknowledged, and the triggers and impact should be identified. Have you begun to slide into a downward spiral and enter the phase of fight, flight, or freeze? Is this bringing up feelings from time gone by? Through the use of a pattern interrupt, you can change your physical conditions and put an end to brooding and rumination. Make adjustments to your thoughts by utilizing predetermined tactics that are designed to break the loop of negative ruminating. Making changes to your environment, listening to music, indulging in physical activity, practicing mindfulness, or looking for an enjoyable pastime are all examples of things that could fall under this category. Determine the limits. Increase the amount of positive self-talk you engage in, develop tactics for protecting yourself, and reduce the amount of time you spend with critical people who are likely to treat you poorly. You should remind yourself that this is their critical and negative internal monologue. This is not a problem that I have, one of my customers has said. It is a problem that they have. It is important to seek out and cultivate a group of people who are supportive and do not indulge in emotionally destructive behaviors. Give way to your judgment. Sometimes, individuals provide constructive input. When this occurs, you can say, I am currently working on this. Taking an honest look at the circumstance or the suggestion is something you should do before you allow yourself to become caught up in the cycle of ruminating. It is possible for feedback to encourage positive self-evaluation if it is delivered appropriately. If it is not delivered appropriately, you should remind yourself of your values and strengths and then reframe the situation by engaging in more positive self-talk. First and foremost, always remember to take satisfaction in how far you have gone. Be careful not to give away your control. When you give other people the power to make you angry, you are giving them the ability to control how you feel. Don't allow them the ability to control you. Alter your mind process as rapidly as possible. Take a few deep breaths and tell yourself that this is an issue that is caused by them. To know what is real about you, you should rely on yourself. It is not a good idea to place your faith in another individual to determine who you are as a person. Every time you take something personally, you are tying yourself down to the opinion of another person. Therefore, you should avoid falling down the rabbit hole of self-doubt and rumination because you are neither a victim nor a prisoner. Every once in a while, it is natural to take things that happen to you personally. If, on the other hand, you discover that you are finding yourself feeling disturbed or offended by the statements of other people frequently, this will start to affect your mental health. Therefore, it is essential to acquire the ability to detect when your response is disproportionate to a comment or a perceived slight. Do you like it? Kindly give your valuable response in our comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting and informative videos.